Hello friends, it's me Cynthia from Greengirlstudios, and we just wrapped up the Big Crafty, the winter Big Crafty, and that was really successful. We had a really fun show, and sorry I'm 20 minutes late, but listen, the show ended at 6 and we had folks still shopping, and so we let them shop as we tore down the booth. So it was pretty epic, and that was like one of the fastest tear downs I've done in a long time. So it was pretty fun. What do you guys think of my ruff? I got that today from a gal named Z. Isn't that so cute? I put it on as soon as I got it. You know, when I saw them, I kept passing by. They were like 3 booths down, and I was like, my first thought, it was for like, like a tutu at first. And then I thought, oh no, that's more like, it would be for like Marty. Of course, I thought it was for Marty. And then I saw this young man walk by, and he had one of the bigger ones. And I was like, of course it's a ruff. Why didn't I think of that? And it looked so cute on him. And he bought an octopus ring from me, and it was a pretty fun experience. So anyway, I got one to be, I liked it. I just thought it was cute. Anyway, let's see who's here. Hello, Julie. And hello to anyone that's new that I met over the weekend. I'd been telling everybody that we do a Sunday night live at 7, and I was like, I don't care what happens. I'm going to get home and I'm going to keep it up because, you build up ahead of, you want to keep going. I must be, but I am pretty jazzed up. I don't know. I still have that show excitement, because that show, I meant to take a live video, but listen, there was not a single point, maybe the last like half hour, but I walked around and did a little bit of shopping myself, but it was so packed. There was no time that I had like it was as soon as we walked in and we uncovered the table at 11. The show started at noon. It was vendors, so it was like wall to wall all weekend long. So it was pretty good. It was awesome, and I'm happy that Justin, the promoter, he's pretty amazing, pretty patient dude, because it's a lot of people. It's a lot to take care of, and I am glad that I don't have to organize something like that. So anyway, hello friends, hello Robin. I see 2 Robins, Marianne, Pat. Oh, hello Clem. Very Shakespearean. Yeah, it's kind of, it's like, it has a little bit of that fun. It kind of reminded me of that Magnolia Pearl. I saw their booth set up one time where was I? Somewhere in Texas. And their booth, let me just say, it's like 4 big booths, and beautiful, like a lot of cotton and linen and embroidery. And I was browsing around, and I happened to know, I was like, oh, maybe I'll get some pantaloons. They're like $400. So that was not going to happen. Oh, hello, Carla. Listen, the Big Crafty was this weekend. We just finished. I just walked in the door. We were carrying things in. And I'm not going to have a live sale. I was going to do that last night, but I forgot all of my stuff for everything at the show. So that didn't work out. So I'm going to show you tonight some fun things that I have that was already on I already had it spread out here, making a mess. And it's fine. I'll show you what I made. It'll be good. Hello, Vicky. Hi, Lauren. Yes, I'm going to show you a little bit of what I got. Oh, and I finished up 2 paper dolls this week. My friend Francis makes these hairpins. This is one I got last time, and this is how it goes. It's like this. I'll show you how. This is so cute. It might be a little weird for some, I will say. It's not for everyone. But I felt like it's like something that you would do in a photo shoot. So I thought it would look cool with my jewelry and his hairpins. If you line it up straight, I'm going to put this to the side a little bit. But if you line it up, it's kind of like you're a saint almost. And probably not together, but this side. Like, look how that looks. Isn't that cool? And so it doesn't, I mean, I have a braid in, so it's not really working out for me right now. But I got this one this time. And then I got one for Christmas for Azalea. They're hand carved. I don't know what kind of wood that is. Maybe maple. I don't know. But it's good for, he said it's based on a Japanese design so that you can easily, like, get in there and do braids. And so it's just a nice little comb. I have a pretty good collection of them. But I think his business is called Worry Not Designs, I'm pretty sure. So I got those two. And what else did I get? Oh, let me show you this, my friend. I got a macaron. My friend gave that to me. It's fun because, you know, I'm local and you start to make friends, you know, with your customers and the other vendors. You know, you're set up all weekend. I didn't really get much chance to talk this time to my neighbors, but everybody was slammed. So good. And my friend Anya, she's local. Look at this. Isn't this so beautiful? That's hand carved. And look what fine work. It's so thin. I have a couple of these upstairs. And you know what? I put pearls in mine. She was like, I want to see that. Because the ones I have upstairs, I filled them up with some Tahitian pearls that I haven't gotten around to stringing yet. And I just love them. They're really beautiful. I'm a little, you know, I want to use them, and I use them for props mostly, because I'm kind of afraid I'd break it. It's real, like things like this in the kitchen, in my house, don't last. Things like that. I don't have any wine glasses. I mean, all that type of stuff. It just gets broken, you know? So my fancy cups, I love ceramics, so I just put them, I basically keep them upstairs, because if they're like, unless they're really thick. If they're really thick, then they can go in the other part. But if not, and these are some, not canals. But I will show you, you guys will see this. This is so cute. Oh, hello, June, my friend. Angela, it is a beautiful cup. I know, Clem, beautiful work. Such beautiful work. Look at this. I made this to look like Marty. If Marty were a botanical kitty. He's not, but if he were, that's what he would look like. I showed it to him yesterday, and it confused him. He was like, what is happening, Mama? But then look at this. Isn't this so cute? It's my son. I sold a bunch of these this weekend. Look at that articulated tail. It's like his language. You can learn all you need from looking at his tail, see if he's in a bad mood or not. But that's my newest paper doll. My two newest paper doll. It's so cute. Look at his little face. It's my son. Fantasy kitty. Yes, it is a fantasy kitty. It is. So those are my two new paper dolls. I sold a bunch of them. I sold paper dolls all day long. And we had the beads. You know, I used to do them in the trays and like individually. But we were so focused on doing orders that what we did for the shows now is we didn't make a bunch of stuff for the shows, like the pewter. We were casting the pewter for all orders, and any extras we would just throw them in to be finished with the rest of it. And so that was like any overspins, you know, of each mold. So we had quite a few, and we put them in these dough troughs, these antique dough troughs that I bought at some yard sale ages ago. And that's how we had them on the table, so people could kind of pick through. It was a lot of fun. And it was easier for me than trying to separate it all. So it was totally fun. Now I'm going to show you. I'm not going to be on super long tonight because you know what? I had a hot dog today and it was okay, but you know, I think tonight I think I'm going to have Greg go get me some sushi when I'm done. So tonight I'm going to show you how I make these pins. And I sell these at the show. I don't have one on, but you know, this is a big one. That's pretty cute. And then this one, I didn't get a chance to. You know what? I spent a couple of hours the other night making like 20 of them, and then I sanded my fingertips off on the what do you call that long? It's like a strip in the sanding. I got belt sander. That's what it's called, belt sander. And here I am thinking of it as like, you know, it's some kind of resin thing. I don't use it for wood. I'm gonna turn this light on, and then I'm going to start taking this off because it's like a bead show in here. It's warm. I did all day long. I had my cute little hat, and I should have refreshed my makeup, but I'm kind of looking haggard, y'all. But that's to be expected. It's the end of the show day. Azalea was like, peace out. I'll set it up for you, but she's out. She had a bunch of her friends stop by, and she sold several paper dolls, or not paper dolls. She sold several of her plushies, which was a good thing, so she wants to make more. I know, I wish I could show you the ones. I don't even think she took pictures of them. Oh, thank you. Thank you, you guys. What's your favorite sushi? I love the barbecue eel. Kalite, you know what's funny? After I was pregnant with Azalea, or with Max, I lost my taste for certain sushi. It's just funny how that goes. Sometimes you just, sometimes it sticks with you. You know what? I didn't realize I have this t-shirt on underneath, and I think it's a vodka company, Lunasco or something, and I won it at our trivia. We have, sometimes Greg and I, we meet and we do trivia night, and it's a lot of fun. We go to the brewery here in town, and I don't want to brag, but I know some trivia. I listen to a lot of audiobooks and a lot of nonfiction, and so sometimes I'm like, sometimes they'll argue with me. I'm like, listen, don't argue with me when it comes to animals, because that's my jam. I got some animal trivia. Oh, hello, Jermaine. I'm cozy now. I am really cozy. Actually, it's like overwarm. We had a window right at our back, and it was such a beautiful view because, you know, you have the church. It's downtown. It's one of the prettiest areas that we do a show. Like, my backdrop is the mountains. I'm like, man, what a perfect day to visit, right? So beautiful. So beautiful. Ooh, look at this one. This one didn't make it to the show. I have a whole tray that didn't make it. You know, sometimes you overshoot it, think you're going to get it done. But I tell you, my main thing I sold was paper dolls, and then I sold beads, and then I sold a lot of rings. I make rings, and Jess casts them for me in brass, some of it in silver. And it was funny today, this hasn't happened in a while, but I kind of got into a little bit of an argument with a fella today. He came up to my booth and told me this kind of long, convoluted story about this this ring designer from the 60s. He's like, you know, have you ever heard of, I don't know what the guy's name was, and he's like, he's from the 60s, and I'm like, well, number one, I'm not from New York, so I don't know who you're talking about, and number two, I wasn't really around in the 60s, so, you know, that's not gonna. Anyway, to make a long story short, he knew people that had these rings, and he was praising my octopus ring, and he loved it, and he wanted it in silver. And I said, well, I have one in silver, but I set sapphires in the eyes. And he looks at it, and it's kind of a lot. Like, even with a discount, It's going to be like 300 bucks because it's like an ounce of sterling, you know, and a lot of handwork. And he's like, well, how come in brass it's 60? And, you know, for shows, I do 50% off to get the excitement rolling. And he's like, he argues with me at the booth, and I'm like, listen, bro, my work is worth. He's like, well, this one is, the silver shouldn't be. And I'm like, it shouldn't be, but it is, because I like to get paid. You don't have to buy it. I mean, I don't have a gun to your head forcing you. So, you know, that's not the issue here. But then he threw my ring on the table afterwards, and all these people were like, oh my God. And I was like, where's security, you know? But it ended up being a positive, because then the people at the table were like, holy cow, what's up with that dude? I was like, I don't know. So it worked out that then everyone, they bought something, because it was like, I know, it was just weird. He had all these rings, and I know that, like, I could see the work. I mean, he didn't have anything like way amazing, but he was pretty proud of his collection. I think he just didn't want to pay a lot for it, but he liked what I did, but he just didn't want. And I was like, I was going to like cut him a deal on things, but at that rate, I don't think so, you know. Oh, hello, my other son, Sam. How are you, Sam? Now I'm going to show you this. I've shown you guys UV resin, and I'm going to get this little bit of a setup here. What I have going are some cups. I'm going to flip the camera around right now. Let's see things. They changed some stuff around so that when I'm doing this, there's now this long list that I have to scroll through. Oh, please ignore the mess. We're in show mode, so it's kind of messy in the house. All right. I know, Jermaine, he could have totally bought the brass one, but he didn't want that one. He wanted silver. And I know the thing is I was trying to explain to him, but he's like, the cost. I love the cost. And I'm like, listen, my friend, she does the casting on this, so I have wiggle room with this, but others, I don't have wiggle room. It was just a weird situation all around. And I was like, you know, and I walked around the show. My prices are very reasonable. I couldn't hardly believe it. I was like, listen, it's not that much, especially when you consider I should have gotten the ring out to show you. It was bigger. It's bigger than this. It's like the amount of silver in it is a lot. And it took me forever to get it because I have to hand clean up each one. Ooh, hello, Nancy. I know. Oh, Lisa. You know, it's funny. No, I'm a little bit weird about my house. I like it to look a certain way. And sometimes it doesn't. I get busy. And I know my friends are like, who cares what your house looks like? I'm like, well, I want you to feel like I gave a hoot that you're coming over. All right, so this is a basic tutorial of how I make these pins. How much is one? Oh, are you talking about the octopus ring? I have it retail, I have it at 60, but you know, I do a discount at the shows so that the customers will come back. And I factor that in. I don't make a ton of money at that, but it gets them looking at other stuff too, so it's worth it. All right, so this is one of the pins. I'll show you another one. Some of these didn't make. Look at this whole tray. This is the tray that I was working on. Tons of them in there. This is one. This came out good. But you know, I wasn't sure. I didn't finish any of these. I kind of wanted to make this for a frame, you know, to mount on the outside of the piece. But because the pin, it's kind of an awkward, you know, the pin on that would be like, there isn't a really good place, and I made this for something else, but I thought it'd make a good pin. This one came out good. This is a little bit of UV resin with some poly, what kind of resin is this? All right, so this is how big I buy. I'm going to flip the camera again. So this is the type of resin I use. Alumilite white. This is the B side. Oh, I wasn't overdrive. I wasn't super overdrive. All right. The first step. This is my favorite one. I was looking around for the mold and one of this. Oh, here it is. So I'm going to show you how to do this part. Tip this down. So the first step. No, Vicky, this is not UV. This is, what is this? It's Alumilite casting resin. Oh, urethane. Urethane. So there are a bunch of different things you can put in it, and I will show you some of those things. So this is one that I did UV eyes. They kind of came out matte because the mold is kind of matte. But I could also go over it and they would be way more shiny. So we'll take this piece, and this is called pan pastels. These are really highly pigmented, like they're artist grade, and they're really, really saturated color. Ooh, challah. Sounds good. I like that bread. I get it at the bakery, and sometimes they make French toast at this one place, and they use that type of bread. And I love it. All right, so here's one of the molds. I just showed you this. And to get this, I'll show you. So I'm going to start with this one. I did a little bit of pink around the eyes. Right in here, you can see that. So maybe on the next one, I'll do a little bit of green. We'll put that so you can see it. Oh. How do you like the pan pastels, Lauren? Isn't this pretty how they come in a ton of colors. I really should. I want to get another set of different colors. I have this secondary set too. But they didn't all fit. All right, so my method. Now, I've tried other types of pastels, and I thought they were a little bit... I guess the word is not that great. I mean, you'd have to powder it in such a way where you can get the colors to be a little more vibrant. So I think this is pretty good, but you might have to, if you use cheaper pan pastel or cheaper pastels, you'd have to scrape them. Tilt this so you can see it. I'm gonna go a little bit green around this. And so I use a brush, and you can get really detailed. And it's a permanent way to colorize. If you're making resin copies, it's a good way to do that because it adheres to the resin on like a molecular level. And you can use this brush is pretty chewed up. And you don't need to use your nicest brushes for this because they definitely get chewed up using it this way. So maybe I'll use this yellow. That's a pretty color. And if you push out, you could actually go in, and I've done some where I've meticulously dusted different colors in each of these little nodules here. That's what this part. I need to come up with a name for this technique. I've been using resin and working with it for, I think the first time I got into it, I was 16. And my mom didn't want me to do it in the house. So in order to deceive her, not that I did this all the time, but I closed the door in my room and I put a towel so she wouldn't know that this is when the resin was really stinky and took forever to set up. And I actually just sat there with it in my room and poured these little fairies. I made them to look like amber I actually have some of them still. That old work. And you can mix the colors. They're easy to mix. And they're so saturated. See how they're like, they're very vibrant. If you were to use the other type, I mean, there are some really good ones. They're more expensive than this, like the Sanglier or the Holbein. Some handmade, hand-rolled pastels. Those would probably work fantastic. Because this is just straight pigment. I don't know that I would try this with other materials, like different pastels, like say maybe an oil pastel, because sometimes that stuff will react and you don't want that to happen. This is like a kind of a turkey tail piece. So what I usually do is I'll do a big batch, and well, as big of a batch as you can kind of do with this. Yes, I carved the original out of polymer clay, and we made molds. Greg made me these molds. And what we did with this, you can kind of see, this was a cup that was poured. And this is a one-part mold, which, you know, I dusted that one and now I've got it all over my hands because I didn't remember that. See, this one has been done already. This one has been cleaned out. The resin will adhere to it, and you will not be able to get it off. It doesn't come off, which is the, you know, it's the plus. It's what you want. You don't want it to come off, because if it's hooked up to a purse or a scarf or whatever and you're wearing it, the last thing you want is for the paint to come off. I actually accidentally left one on a hoodie and it came out of the wash just fine. It didn't even, you wouldn't even noticed. So none of the paint none of this comes off. And you can layer, although the more you layer, it can get kind of muddy if you keep going over it. And that happens, let me see, where's the one I did one, it was kind of muddy. This one was a little bit muddy. I went too hog wild with that, and the colors mixed too much. So that didn't look great. That didn't look good. And I'm not, you know, I'm not washing my brush or dipping it in water. You don't want to do that. You just want to go straight dry pastel. Any moisture will cause your molds to complete your resin. Your molds will be fine, but your resin copies will be really foamy and gross. So you don't want to do that. Now, you could wipe off any extra onto a paper towel, which is what I try to do, because you don't want to mix and match and contaminate. But, you know, it's not, nothing's going to happen if it does. So I'll blend a little bit and try not to do, okay, I can get in there and really detail it. I don't want to do too much color. You guys can probably hear Azalea attacking Marty. He's had all day to chill out and relax without us bothering him morning, noon, and night, which is what he usually gets when we're home. So now she's making up for lost time. This is going to be like Fiesta. I don't know that I've made one that's that colorful. We'll see if it comes out that way. I'm going to set this one down. I want to move on to another one. Okay, I'm going to set that one to one side. I'm going to dust this brush off. And you can see the color. This is what happened. See, I did not even notice that thing had... See, I did that. Didn't even notice. Now look at my fingers. Okay, I will do... I think this one. This is a good one. Maybe I didn't try this lime green color on it. We'll see how that looks. But even with dusting off the brush, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of residue there. We'll do a greenish look. He's kind of like a little bit like a sea creature. Creature from the Black Lagoon kind of story. Maybe I'll try, let's see, dust that out. And maybe this nice powdery blue. But it was a fun show. You know, the next one we have is called the Little Crafty. And that one is coming up not this weekend, but next weekend after. This week, I think it's on, maybe it's on, let me see, what day is it? I'm using my phone so I can never check the dates. But we're going to do a live with Sam's beads. And I again agreed to do some knotting. So if you need a refresher on knotting, I know I've showed it like a million times, but if you need a refresher, you can watch that with Rachel and I. That's Sam's sister. She's a really sweet lady. And the last time I did it, boy, she challenged me. She's like, let's see if you can do this in 1 hour because I'm going to go out to dinner afterwards. And I was like, listen, I hear you. It's Friday night and it's game night. So I don't know. I think she told me the 6th. So I'll check it again and post it. But if you want to learn about, or if you want to see it again, I know y'all have seen me not like crazy. I don't think anybody's really into it, but there might be a new person. And thank you if you stopped by the booth today to say hi, and I invited you to our live stream. Right. Oh, Carla, you know, I have waited to get, I first started with like 6 of them. And I've amassed this set because they're not a cheap date. That's what Candy's phrase for that. These are like $5 or $6 each. They're not cheap. But if I were to do, if it just depends, because you can use these in a lot of different applications. And at first I was like, I did not use this. My original thing is I used them in my sketchbooks. And that kind of, let me show you how that looks on. I was using this kind of card, like this paper, and on that, you should see how it looks on that. It looks so good. Like it's really vibrant and they blend easily. And so you can use them in that way. And what I did was I'd spray this with workable fixative, and you can get really pretty color blends. And you can then draw and paint right over it if you're using workable fixative. Just spray the whole thing, and yeah, see, look at that. You can blend out and get that really cool. It makes a neat surface. Listen, I'll do this thing all day long, and then you can go after you spray it with a workable fixative, and once that's done, this is like a permanent, it doesn't blend or smear or anything, and then you can work on top of it. Watercolors, probably not great, but if you were using like jelly pens, that would be fun, or acrylics, you can get a neat atmospheric look, or encaustics over that would be great. I've done that where you can pour the whole thing and get a really easy layer, and then it's, you know, then you can kind of get your money's worth out of the pan pastel, so it's not too painful to spend $5 a piece on these. Well, Clem, I will show you. Oh, and polymer clay, of course. There's a lot of different things you can use with these. Yes, I've done those with polymer clay too. You know, the other thing I use these for is when I'm working on my Barbies or my dolls, if I'm doing a doll face up. So I'm going to do these. Let's do 3 of them, and I'll show you how to pour them. Yeah, this one is so fun. This is my favorite one to tint with this because they look so, it's so easy. It just pops right out of the mold. Some of them I gotta fight with them. Okay, I'm gonna maybe do pink on this one. Let's open it a little bit. You can see that, isn't that such a pretty color? These are such saturated, good colors. I love them so. I think they're my favorite. So you actually, it's a pretty good investment, depending on what you're going to do with it. If you're just going to I mean, obviously you can use them for their most intended purpose, and that's to draw with somehow. I don't know how people do it unless you're doing things that are not very detailed, but for me, I can't get a lot of detail because you're supposed to use these like makeup brush applicators with it, and they're to me it seems kind of, I don't know, they're kind of, it does not come easily to me. Let's just say that. Because I tend to work small and kind of noodly. So, yeah, mica powder work. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, mica powder does work. I have some. I have a lot of that. Look at this one. This just came. Check this out. This is not mica powder. What brand are they? Pan Pastel. They make a blending powder. I bought some at Christy Friesen's, but I haven't used it. This brand makes a blending powder? Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to check it out. I got this. This is not, what do you call it? This is not a mica powder. Oh, Lauren, abstract landscapes with this would be killer. Yeah, I could see that easily. But in that case, you would burn through them really quick. Isn't that a just luscious? They call this nail dip. I guess you're supposed to get, your nails and then epoxy and then you stick them in there and then coat them. But I was using this with UV resin and let's see, I made something with it pretty recently. Let me see, I better put the cover on it. Can't really see it. I went matte with these for some reason. I was just being experimental. Oh, you don't want to buy another product. I hear you, Jermaine. Let's see. I do have some. Let's use some of those mica powders. I have a bunch of jars of that hanging around here. Here are the ones I have. Some of the ones I have. If you have the ones from that popular brand, I can't think the name right offhand. It's in the big container. Here it is. Pearl-X pigments. These this stuff you can use it on. I mean, a little of this goes a long way. Oh, I got that on sale. But if you have these are good for so many things. You can use them with epoxy putty. You can use them with polymer clay, with all the different kinds of resin. They're inert, so you can get a lot of different, you can mix them with acrylics. They have a lot of use. Oh, Let's Resin. Yes, I like that. I like that brand. It's not good. That actually looks better. And I'm looking at this on my tiny little screen, and it looks better in real life. It's a really saturated purple color. So this is fun stuff to use too. I'm going to dust some of this in there. Give it a little bit of extra. Now with this, you don't get as saturated, like shine, partly because when I made this mold and I made the master, I did not like high polish my master. So there's a lot of matte finish. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to do, I think it'd take about an ounce of resin to do this. So I'm going to move this out of the way and cover it. My horror nightmare is that I drop this and I break all the pieces, and then it would be a mess. Because, I feel like once you break your eyeshadow and every time you open it, it like a little bit falls out. It annoys me so much. So I've been really precious with these so I don't mess them up. Some eyeshadows will work too if you don't have pan pastels. And I've bought them for just that thing, and it works fine. They're not as pigmented as some things, but they'll work in a pinch. So I tend to reuse my cups over and over and over again. And my mixing cup is made out of silicone. This one gets a lot of use. I want to try this blender you were talking about. So when I'm not using this to keep the dust out, I put a little bit of aluminum foil on top just to keep it from, you know. And I suggest you use gloves. I didn't. Hey, Max, will you get me a paper towel, please? Because if you don't, your hands are going to look like this, and you don't want that. I've washed them so hard to try and get this stain, but sometimes it's like dug in. Okie dokie. And it's good I put that aluminum foil because look, it's coming out of the top. And this stuff can be sticky and it can get over everything, so I keep everything in a tub so it doesn't make too big of a mess. Okay, get in position, you guys. Alright. So, to keep everything straight, I only ever tint my B side, and you don't want to mess that up, because if you do, you'll make a horrendous mess. Oh, yeah, they are good. There are a lot of useful things you can do with them. Okay, so this, I've had this same, you can't even read the label. This is so strong. Oh my gosh, look. Okay, so from 2000, that's how long I've had this. So, and I use this stuff pretty frequently, but you only need a drop. And when I say a drop, not even a drop. So that's, I'll put in one. Come on out of there, you. Alright. So, these go for forever. They last for forever. Literally. What year is it? 2023? Well, 20 years. 24 years. There you go. I used to... Okay, I'm going to get the B side. And you can measure this through weight or volume. So that means I can get a scale. And I have this scale right here. This is one I use, but the battery died. And it's just a, you know, a male. One for male. And luckily, these have these handy dandy measurements on the side. So I'm going to do about, I think an ounce will do this. I'm going to pour and hopefully not over pour. Okay, it's about an ounce. Usually I like to do it by weight. Alright, sounds good. Sounds fun. Next time I'm in Charlotte. Alright, so since I reuse this, I don't need to mix it like crazy. You can see if you look down there that I didn't even get to the bottom of this resin or the mixing of that dye. Now, with dyes, you don't want to put too much. And that's one of the key things that goes wrong with a lot of resin projects. If you're using the A and B side and you happen to go hog wild and add too much dye or substrate, like you can tint this. I'll show you. Look at this. So let's try some of this glitter. You always put this in your B side. And I say that because then you always know which side's which. And usually or I don't know if they still do this, but the B side was always, it meant for like the base. So I measured 1 ounce into this, and you want to do this first. You don't put your fillers in, because then you're going to get an inaccurate reading of how much resin. So put your resins in first, and then you can put your fillers. Now, I have several fillers. I have some that are metal, like powdered bronze, powdered bone, powdered porcelain dust, that stuff. I didn't want to bring it upstairs. I'm in my dining room, and this doesn't smell like, it doesn't smell, or maybe I'm numb to it, but I have a pretty keen sense of smell, and it has a very low odor. But once you start using the powders and things, you want to go outside to do that, and I don't want to do that in here. But I'm going to mix, I put maybe 2 grams, maybe not even that much. But anytime you want to add something, you add it to your base. And I think of that, it used to be B-side meant, you know, for base. All right, this side's ready. Now I have this cup here because I reuse it. No need to be rich and wasteful and like have, you know, I know people would constantly be pitching this. Then you'll have, you know, you'd be filling up the landfill with your plastic cups. If I was really on top of things, I would have this in silicone as well, which sometimes I do. But all of my silicone cups were kind of in a state, so I wanted to get them cleaned out. All right. Okay, here's the A side. Now, I buy it. You can get this at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, wherever. But the way I buy it, I get it in bulk, so it's a little bit cheaper. But even so, this kit costs about $140 maybe. It's been a while since I bought it. But if you're doing a lot of production, people will use this to cast doll parts. So I'm trying to get exactly 1 ounce. Usually I transfer it into a smaller bottle because this great big jug is kind of hard to maneuver. And you can't leave this in like a garage or something. I can't store any of that because it has a shelf life. And if you are not careful, you will ruin a whole good batch of resin by leaving it somewhere where it can get moisture in it. And the cold can kind of mess it up, you know? So you want to keep it somewhere where the temperature is stable. In fact, you should store all your resins never on a concrete floor because it can leach up through the floor and mess up your resin. You'll have to pitch it. There's no saving it. Trust me, I've tried saving it. So this is not super clean, but you know, it'll do. We don't have to be, you know, too precious with it. Okay, I'm going to give it one more swirl. And dump that in. And then before I do this, I'm going to get these guys ready because this stuff sets up. It sets up real fast. I'm going to cover that so I don't get any more dust or anything. Now, once I get this going, I'm going to need it to be ready. So I'm going to set these guys up right where I'm going to need them. Okay. Oh, I'm not in the frame. I'm going to get that in there. Okay, now for the A side. And you just dump that in there. Right. You can see it's already kind of getting that cloudy look. And it'll do that at first, and then it'll go back to being dark. This will be like a kind of a minty, bluish, greenish color. All right. And I'll go the other direction. You don't want to stir too aggressively because you'll end up making too many like air bubbles. So you just pour it in. Who knows what this is going to look like with the glitter. I kind of tap it a little bit. You know, we made, when I was in the 3D lab first using this in college, we had made a table that shook. It was a little motor we put on it. And it shook the heck out of the molds, as that's what it was for. And I kind of miss that. I need to make one. Okay, now we'll get this little botanical little shrimp creature. Oh, and it looks like I have extra. I have a little bit extra, so I have molds. So you know what? I'm going to use it on that thing that I had sitting there that I didn't get a chance to do anything with. And I still have extra, so I'm going to do a little bit more. Let me see what other mold's handy. We'll do this lady here. Let's see if I have more left over. It's starting to thicken. Boy, I really hate it when I go over the edge because then I have to trim that. So let me see, where's another? Oh, I have some on this side. I'll just do this one, we'll see what happens. Usually I have a bunch of molds sitting around, so in case I do have extra, it's not, you know, I don't like to waste and just have it sitting. And you can see here it's already begun to thicken up. And so I'll just let it sit in here. And once this is set up, it'll take a few minutes. Let me see. The more mass that's in here, like the bigger things tend to set up faster. See, it's already beginning. And I've gone way over the edge on this one. Ugh, look how I did over the edge over here too. But, you know, I can always get it on the belt sander and fix it. And by fix it, I mean I can just sand off the extra. So I suggest wearing gloves so you don't have to go and hunt for some kind of solvent to get it. But it comes off fairly easily. And you can see this is the color that this dark. Yeah, you don't want to have any waste. So this is really hot right now. And if you were to try to demold it too soon, what happens is you get like a shell. And it really messes it up to demold it too soon. So what I'll do is while these are sitting here for a few minutes, like, I don't know, maybe, I think this setup is supposed to be, I'm gonna look at what the jug says. Well, now I can't read what the jug says. But it's like 5 minutes. Oh no, the price was on it. Oh, so this was $150 for this kit. Now this will make quite a few doll parts and different things that you would want to use with this. I make ball jointed dolls. I don't make them for, you know, production or anything at the moment because there's just so many things, but I just make them for my own enjoyment. There's one. This is kind of a doll face type thing I'm working on. It came out pretty good. Let's see, where's the other one? Oh, these came out pretty. Look how this came out. This I did a mix and match with a UV resin shell. So, you know how you have to use UV resin and you have to do it in thin, like, layers? Well, the first layer I did a tinted resin. You can see it around the edge. It's like an aqua blue. And I did a pink right in here. And then I dusted the mold with those, with the I want to call it Permaflex, but it's not Permaflex. It's Pearl X. And you can get that kind of shimmer. The same way it was done with this piece here. But you know, since the mold was not shiny, it came out matte finish and kind of like frosty, like sea glass. Yeah, this one was the same, but I feel like it came out a little weird. It was a little too weird, right? So this, it's hot. It's very hot. That's actually hotter than a regular UV. I know, I keep touching it. And it's funny because the heavier mass areas are really, it cooks faster. And your thin zones, you can see, they're still translucent. The super thin pieces, like this, where it was really thin. This looks like something, well, that must have fallen off. That's nice. Look at that. But here you can see it through this side because it's clear. Kind of see it. I guess you can't really see it. It'll be cute when I pull it out. But you have to give it a minute. Yes. All right, I'm going to try and tidy up a bit. Here, this is what I do with this. This is not set up yet, so I can't pull it out. I usually love pulling that out. And I have a silicone mat under here. That helps with keeping your mess in check. But I would say wear gloves for this. I cannot find, I must have used all my gloves, but that'll make cleanup really fast. And then you're not trying to use that pumice to get it off of your fingers. I bought this pretty recently. I had this is also for nails. It's holographic. You know, I brought these to 2 different classes, and in one of the classes they just disappeared, so that was weird. This is another type of hollow. I'm going to take the lid so you can see it. I don't know if this shows it better or worse. Isn't that cool? I don't know if you can see that, but it's like, I don't know why I have that on there. I don't need it. I didn't notice it had a flip top. But it's like galaxy colored. So those are new. And I tried this one out and I was like, I don't know. I was not real impressed with this. It just didn't seem like there was anything happening with it. I was like, is there anything, you know, nothing happened. So I didn't love that. I made this one here. This came out pretty cute, but you know what? There was a flaw in the mold when we were pouring the silicone. And I don't know if you can see it, but they're right in the top. And that kind of made me crazy. So I'm not going to, I didn't get to sell any of these guys, which was kind of annoying, you know, because I wanted to make them. I made that one special. But maybe I'll have some for the Little Crafty, which is not this weekend, but the next. So I feel like this one's probably ready. Okay, so when you're demolding, I know that tail does not look like it's ready. It still feels a little soft, but I'm so impatient to open it. Oh, my friend Anne. We were just talking about Tucson and getting ready for that. We had several people that came to the show that were talking to us about Tucson. They're like, well, where are you going to be set up? And I was like, listen, we're going to do something new and different this year. Instead of setting up at a show, we're just going to do live streams and shop. So it doesn't look like it wants to come out, but it will come out because I'm easing the mold open just a hair. This is really, I should let this sit for like another, I don't know, say 5 minutes. The Little Crafty is going to be at Citizen Vinyl. They make records apparently. I've never been there. But it's at the Grove Park Arcade. It's kind of a historical building. So I'm trying to open this to give this a chance to kind of solidify. Now I tinted this sort of a seafoam blue, so all the colors that I used on it might be ugly mixed, but hopefully I've gauged this right and the colors are not going to be too wacky. This is the tricky part, is this tail. Oh, Nancy, wait. I know, I'm so eager. I'm so eager. We'll see. Okay, so if I were to force it, look how it's kind of, see, it's not ready. And it's sort of stretching a little bit. It does not want to come out yet. But I'm going to pull this side just gently. There we go. He's going to pop out now. This is the best part, my favorite part. We'll see, we'll see, we'll see. You guys are going to love it. This is the best part. Okay, here goes. Demold time. I did it slow enough. There we go. We got one. So that's how it comes out. That's how it comes out right out of the mold. So what happens now is I have a choice to make. I can coat it with some of this. This is matte varnish. But if I use this, other UV resins don't want to stick to it. So Let's see, I see something there. Can you paint some spots on your frog's back with UV resin? You know, I did try that. I did that on, let's see. Where did I do that? One of these. And, oh, so I did that on this one. You can see I did the UV, and something happened where it kind of, I don't know what happened there. It didn't want to stick. It did not want it. And so I might have to either just, I don't know. That one, I don't know how I can fix that. Maybe I can pop that off. But it took a couple times and it didn't want to set up. But this one has the sparkle powder, but you can see since this is a matte finish, you don't get as much sparkle. You don't, actually, I don't even see any sparkle. But look here where the pan pastel, this is how thick of an opaque layer the pan pastel is. Here's where it's at its thinnest. See that? You have the blue or bluish greenish color shining through. And here where it's thick, you don't see any of it. And here where it's thinner, you get a little bit. But I was really aggressive dusting this particular mold, and so the layer is thicker. If you go a little thinner, you can get some of that balance. But it has a neat texture. So a lot of these pan pastels, well, all of them, are made from powdered pigments, which have a binder of calcium carbonate, which is what gesso is made from. So this accepts paint really easily and really, really great. It's actually really fun to paint. This surface is so nice to paint because it's not resin any. It's impregnated. Well, impregnates is not the word of choice here. It's bonded with the calcium carbonate that's in this, and it's giving a really nice surface. And you can do this with UV resin. It works. It has a different look though, and it's not as, like, you can't really, if you put it too thick, you don't get as much of the I'm looking for it. So with the powders there, you can see how that doesn't have as much excuse me, doesn't have as much of a shine. It kind of does, and you can kind of see it. It has a sort of sea glass effect. All right, let's see if these guys are ready. Boy, they are hot. All right. This is kind of a bubbly texture on the back from that glitter. And if I used a casting resin that was clear, which they make, you know, that's called polyurethane. They use it for bar tops, and you can get it at any craft store. It's 2-part. It's not a UV, and it takes a lot longer to set up. But you would get, you could use it and see more of that pigment powder. You know, I actually don't see any of that as being kind of glittery. I don't know if it'll show up. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. And it's kind of fun to peel that back and get that kind of satisfying demold pop. So you go around all the edges first to loosen it up. And then you push. You can see his face from this side. We'll see how this looks. Hopefully it's not scary and I don't have to paint over it. We actually sold one of these, I think last week. Ooh, they did not want to go. So this has these holes here so that we can attach it. That hole filled, I'm going to have to sand the back to get that hole to not be covered up. So then what I'm doing is I'm easing all the way around the edges so I don't tear the mold. If you go too aggressively, you can tear it, and you don't want to tear it because silicone is not cheap. Wow. That, I don't love that red. He kind of looks like he's got a skin condition. But that's an easy fix, because if you were to feel this, it has a very kind of a like I don't know, kind of like stoneware a little bit. It doesn't feel like resin because it has that powdered surface. So that one I'll paint probably, you know, with a little bit. It just, you know, sometimes I like to finish them. And I'll go over the eyes with some UV. Okay, we'll do this little guy. He's an easy one to demold. Got little air bubbles right in here. I don't love that. And that came out pretty cute. And you can get some nice fade and ombre effect. But the eyes can be painted at this point, and you can put a little UV resin. Although you might have to test it, because you know what? I used this on them to get, because I like how it looks kind of waxy when you add the matte. You could go shiny too. But here I did UV resin on the eyes. I had to cook it like 5 times. It did not want to set up on this surface. It does not like it. So it's good to test it. But now look how clean the mold is. It's like it didn't even happen. So that, I'm going to have to sand that all in order for that to, I could pull that, but you can see, if I pull it too aggressively, you could just, it can, once this hardens, it'll be like a rock though. It's really hard. And UV resin, when you sand it, it's even harder. Alright, let's get this lady. She did not have any pigment, so we'll see if this shows any of the sparkle. I don't know if it will. It'll be a mystery. But it's still soft. So it has some residual pigment from before that didn't come out. And that looks pretty. Yeah, you can put, I think you can try, you know, I never, like, haven't tried the gloss varnish on this. I did on some of the eyes of the other ones, but, and that seemed to work just fine. I kind of love that color, I tell you, it's so pretty. Yeah, you know, maybe under a different light you can see some of that, but I really don't see any of the, I didn't dust this one, but I did put that little bit of glitter, and maybe in sunlight or something, I don't know, I feel like maybe you can kind of see a little bit of that, but you know, it's like invisible. If that were the clear, you would be able to see it. But it is a pretty, it is a really pretty color. All right. So anyway, that is how I get this paint. Now you can go on with some acrylics, and you can easily put a wash on there, or like in this case, UV resin. I put a little UV on that one, and it came out pretty good. But I had to double, sometimes triple, cook it under the UV lamp. To finish them, you can put them on a, like, if you poured that easily and you didn't do what I did and over pour like this, then there's not much cleanup. But if you do over pour like how I did here, you'd have to use a belt sander, because this is really hard. And trying to trim this with a razor blade is no fun. So it just takes like a second. And then I put that belt sander outside, and then I put a box on the outside of it, so in case it gets flung out of my fingers, because you know it's pretty high powered, I'll just set one side, I'll just set it on the belt sander and just zap it, and it takes this right up, maybe in like a minute. Although if you're not watching what you're doing, you can easily get your fingertips, which I did pretty much like 6 times, and ground my nails off. That was no fun either. But I think these look pretty good. And that's a little tidbit on how to tint resin using pan pastels. This is kind of a fun step. I kind of love doing this. I'm not going to do this now, but peeling that out is pretty satisfying. It's kind of like getting glue. Yeah, sometimes I'll start it on this end, and just peel the whole thing right out of there. And it's kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie. If you like that kind of thing, I kind of do. Yep. Just like that. And then, then you can start again and do another thing. Although sometimes I get a little too eager and it's not quite set up and then it's sticky. So, but it's not going to kill anything that's in there. And this is all these little silicone things they have nowadays. It makes it easy. I found these. There was like, on the Black Friday, I didn't really get a lot of stuff. I don't really need a lot of stuff. But these were like $4. I couldn't resist. I don't know what they were regular price. But they're silicone. Isn't that cool? And I was using these when we were making those small resin pieces like this. Like these little ones here. Those were kind of fun to like tint. I think I did that a couple weeks ago when I did this bubble mold with the UV. And so you can kind of use that way. And I was using it to like pick up the backs of like removing some of it. And it worked pretty well. And they're easy to clean up. You just wipe them off. I know. I kind of wished that they had an actual brush, but it's just a solid piece of silicone. I was looking for one that was a ton of bristles, but I couldn't find that. So, anyway, I'm going to flip the camera and we can, oops. I'll get this squared away. Sometimes they do these updates and it's harder to, you got to scroll through a bunch of stuff. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. That was a lot of fun, and I'm gonna stop and have some sushi now. But I tell ya, what a fun day. Whoop. My camera folder does not want to behave. All right. Thank you guys for joining me this Sunday evening. I will come back this Sunday. We were trying to think if we're going to have, our next Zoom. And since it'll be a little bit of a break between this show and the last one that's coming up, the Little Crafty, we were talking about if there'll be time. I know this is a really busy time for a lot of people, but maybe we can get that going on a Thursday. I think is a good day for that. Seemed like it was we had well attended. Maybe we'll shoot for that. We'll send an email out if that's the case, if we get it figured out. But in the meantime, we will definitely going on Sunday. This next coming Sunday, we don't have a show, so it'll be, we'll have time to put together a nice collection. I've been working on a couple of kits, and that was fun. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome, Marianne. Thank you, Kalite. Oh, I hate it when it's like cockeyed like that. Ugh. Come on, you. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And I hope you guys have a magical rest of your week and you have fun and you get to do something creative. And if you do and you use some of our pieces, don't forget to post them in the group. I love seeing what everyone makes. It's kind of the highlight when I can see that. People send me pictures all the time of things they've made. I'm like, listen, share it with everybody, But sometimes they'll have kind of sad stories with them. So I get that if you don't feel like having to share your if you have sad stories to go along with it. But it is a treat for me to see what people make. It's one of the best parts of my week, and it just kind of spurs a lot of creativity, I feel, when you see how other people use something that you might not have considered. So keep them coming. So thank you for everyone that has posted. We tend to tuck in little extras. I know that Azalea does. She keeps watch on the group and she lets me know. And also there's it'll say, oh, like who's posting a lot. And sometimes she'll throw in a little something extra for, you know, our frequent flyers. And that's kind of fun. So I appreciate, and if we have any new folks, thank you for joining us this evening. It was so much fun getting to know a lot of new people at the show. And we will have something new this Sunday. I'm beginning to repeat myself. But yeah, if you want, I'll check the day. I think it's the 6th if you want to see another round of knotting. And my technique is to not pre-measure the cord and no cutting early on. It can be tricky. I taught it a few weeks ago and everybody got it but one gal. She was determined to do it. She was like, I know that I have done this certain way. I'm like, well, you're not, you know, you're learning a new way. So, you know, if you know how to do it, you don't need, why are you taking my class? But, you know, she ended up with a piece, even though she fought the whole way. It is different from regular knotting, and it might not come naturally. So if you have a certain way to knot and you like that way and you don't want to, you know, compare and contrast, then, you know, you could just watch to see how it differs from yours. It's not the same way as using, there's a tool, the pearl knotter. I don't use that, and I don't use an awl. You can use those tools, but I usually just use my fingers. So, and it works for me. And I use a double strand, and I don't cut. So if you want to learn that way, Sam's Beads, they are posting about it now. I'm getting a picture together, and the picture, I'll probably get that done tomorrow. Now it's too dark to take anything nice. So we will see what everyone thinks about that piece. Okie dokie. So y'all, take care and have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you for sure this Sunday. And if I can get my self together, I will hopefully have time to get a Zoom going. I know everybody's busy, but it might be fun to craft together. And if that's the case, we'll send an email out, and we'll try to do it where we do one thing, because, you know, it might be fun to get that support, and you can just bring all your stuff, and you can not show your face, or you show your face, or you can just hang out. So, like I said, we'll see you next week, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you.